Under the hot Texas sun, cars on Highway 32 slowed down, not because of a crash. Something smaller and friendlier had stopped traffic. A young golden retriever puppy, desperate and determined, stood in the road, refusing to move. Officer Emma Carter had dealt with strange situations before, but nothing quite like this. As she got closer to the shaking dog, she realized it wasn't just lost or hurt. It was trying to communicate something, and when she noticed the metal attached to its collar, she understood. Somewhere in the distance, a mystery awaited her discovery. What could this golden retriever possibly be leading them to, and why did it seem to be waiting for help? What began as a normal highway patrol would soon uncover a life-or-death mystery nobody expected. The summer sun glared down on Highway 32 in West Texas countryside, creating wavy heat images on the road that stretched far into the distance. Traffic flowed steadily, the usual stream of trucks and cars heading north to Abilene or south to San Angelo, passengers unaware of the drama happening on the roadside. Officer Emma Carter fixed her hat against the bright sun, looking at the dispatch notes on her police car screen. At 34, she'd worked with the Texas Department of Public Safety for 11 years, and animal calls rarely needed immediate attention. But something about this one seemed different. Reports of a small, upset dog disrupting traffic wasn't something she could ignore. DSPCH, this is Unit 247 responding to the animal incident at Highway 32, marker 143, arriving in 3 minutes, she reported, slowing down as she neared the scene. Understood, Officer Carter. Be aware we've had more calls. Drivers reporting what looks like a golden retriever puppy showing unusual behavior. Emma's interest grew. In her experience, dogs usually ran away from highways, not toward them. Something was wrong. She saw the commotion before reaching the mile marker. A group of vehicles pulled onto the shoulder, drivers standing outside their cars pointing and taking photos with their phones. With practiced skill, Emma pulled up behind the last vehicle, lights flashing to warn approaching traffic of the hazard ahead. As she stepped out of her car, the hot Texas air hit her like a physical force. She adjusted her belt and approached a middle-aged man in a worn Dallas Cowboys t-shirt who seemed to be directing others to keep back. "Afternoon, sir. Officer Emma Carter, DPS. Can you tell me what's happening?" The man wiped sweat from his forehead. "Ma'am, there's a golden retriever puppy over there," he said, pointing toward the median. "Been trying to cross for about 20 minutes now. Runs out, then backs up. Almost caused a big accident when a semi braked hard to avoid it." Emma nodded, her trained eyes scanning the area. "Anyone try to approach it?" "No, ma'am. Seems really upset, plus," he paused, "seems distressed, like it's trying to get our attention or something. Never seen anything like it." Emma thanked the man and walked carefully toward the median, hand resting instinctively on her gun. She'd handled upset animals before, and even a friendly breed could be unpredictable when scared. Then she saw it. A golden retriever puppy only a few months old, its golden fur dusty from the roadside. It paced nervously at the edge of the median, making small darting moves toward the road before backing up when vehicles approached. Emma kept her distance, watching. There was something strange about its behavior. This wasn't an animal randomly crossing a road. It seemed intentional, almost frantic in its attempts. She raised her binoculars for a closer look, and that's when she noticed it. A small device attached to the dog's collar with what looked like a blue marker of some kind. The golden retriever wasn't a stray, or at least not completely. Emma went back to her car and called the local animal control office. Within 20 minutes, a white pickup truck with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department logo pulled up behind her police car. Dr. Stephen Morrison got out, a thin man in his 50s with sun-weathered skin and alert eyes that missed nothing. He'd been the regional wildlife biologist for over 20 years, and if anyone knew what to make of this, it would be him. Dr. Morrison. Emma extended her hand. Thanks for coming so quickly. Call me Stephen, he replied, shaking her hand firmly. Dispatch mentioned a tagged dog on the highway. That's unusual enough to get me moving. Emma briefed him as they walked toward the median, careful to keep their movements slow and non-threatening. There, she pointed. See the device on its collar? Stephen raised his own binoculars, adjusting the focus. Well, I'll be damned, he muttered. That's not a standard pet ID. What do you mean? Pet owners use microchips or standard tags. This is something different. He continued watching. There's a blue marker attached, almost looks like. He trailed off, his forehead wrinkling. The golden retriever spotted them and, instead of running away, moved closer, stopping about 30 feet from them. It made a small, urgent whine, then turned and took a few steps toward the forest that bordered the highway, looking back at them. It wants us to follow it, Stephen said, amazement in his voice. Like Lassie, Emma said doubtfully. I know how it sounds, but I've worked with animals for 25 years. And while golden retrievers are smart, this behavior is extraordinary. He squinted at the blue marker. That tag, can I borrow your binoculars? Mine aren't as powerful. Emma handed them over, and Stephen focused intently on the device. There's a number on it, RW7734. His face grew slightly pale. Emma, that's not a pet tag. That's an emergency location marker, usually given to hikers in certain parks. Why would a golden retriever have a hiker's location marker? Good question. Let me make a call. Stephen went back to his truck, returning 5 minutes later with a serious expression. I just spoke with the ranger station at Fortress Ridge State Park. They've had a missing hiker since yesterday. Michael Cooper, 42, experienced outdoorsman. He checked in for a 3-day solo hike but missed his scheduled check-in last night. Emma's police instincts activated. And the marker number matches. RW are his initials, and 7734 was his campsite registration. They both looked at the golden retriever, which was still waiting, occasionally making that same urgent whine. This doesn't make sense, Emma said. How would a golden retriever end up with a hiker's marker? Stephen looked thoughtful. There might be an explanation. Let me check something. He took out his tablet and tapped through several screens. Here, ranger records show that Michael Cooper is a professional dog trainer from Austin, specializes in search and rescue dogs. Emma looked at the golden retriever with new understanding. So, this could be his rescue dog? Maybe he was training it as part of a search and rescue program. It's possible, but if that's the case, why is the dog here and Michael isn't? The meaning hung between them. The golden retriever made another whine, more urgent this time, and took several more steps toward the forest. Emma made a decision. I'm going to follow it. If there's any chance it knows where this hiker is, I'm coming with you, Stephen cut in. If Michael is hurt, we might need medical supplies. He hurried back to his truck and returned with a backpack, basic first aid, water, and emergency food, standard search and rescue gear. Emma radioed dispatch to update them on the situation and request backup. We've got a possible missing persons case connected to the animal incident. Dr. Morrison and I are going to investigate, requesting more units in search and rescue on standby. Copy that, Officer Carter. Be advised nearest backup is 30 minutes out. Search and rescue has been notified, but we'll wait until you confirm. Understood. We'll be careful and stay in radio contact. The golden retriever, seeming to sense their decision, turned and trotted toward the tree line, looking back now and then to make sure they were following. "Never thought I'd be following a dog into the woods," Emma muttered as they crossed the highway, telling the bystanders to clear the area. "Animals have a way of surprising us," Stephen replied, "especially when humans get involved." As they entered the forest, the temperature dropped noticeably under the cover of oak and juniper trees. The golden retriever stayed about 50 feet ahead, visible enough to follow but keeping its distance. "It's staying on a clear path," Stephen noticed. "That's another sign this isn't normal behavior. Even trained dogs might wander or get distracted by smells." Emma nodded, her eyes scanning the ground. "There," she pointed. "Boot prints, recent ones." Stephen knelt to examine them. "Good eye. These are fresh, maybe a day old. Men's hiking boot. Probably size 11 or 12 inches. They continued following the golden retriever, which kept its steady pace. About a mile into the forest, they came across a clearing where the plants had been disturbed. Broken branches, flattened grass, and scattered personal items. A water bottle, a torn backpack strap, and most worrying spots of what looked like dried blood on several leaves. "Someone passed through here in a hurry," Emma said, her hand moving instinctively to her gun. "Or fell," Stephen added, pointing to a steep drop-off at the edge of the clearing that wasn't immediately visible. The golden retriever had stopped at this point, pacing anxiously and making that same urgent whine they'd heard earlier. It approached the edge of the drop-off, then looked back at them expectantly. Emma and Stephen exchanged glances, then carefully made their way to the edge. Below was a ravine about 30 feet deep with a small stream running along its bottom, and there, partly hidden by a fallen tree, was a human form. "Michael!" Stephen called out. "Michael Cooper!" The figure moved slightly, raising an arm in what might have been a wave. "He's alive," Emma said with relief, then into her radio. "Dispatch, we've found the missing hiker. Ravine about 1 mile east of Highway 32 at mile marker 143. Subject is alive but hurt, requesting immediate medical evacuation. Copy that, Officer Carter. Search and rescue is mobilizing. ETA 45 minutes to your location." Emma assessed the ravine. "It's not too steep. We can make it down there. I'll go first." "I've got the medical supplies," Stephen offered. They carefully made their way down the slope, using trees and rocks for support. The golden retriever surprised them by finding its own path down, moving with natural agility despite being a larger dog. When they reached the bottom, they found Michael Cooper conscious, but clearly in distress. His leg was trapped under the fallen tree, and his face was pale from exposure and dehydration. But when he saw the golden retriever approach, a weak smile crossed his face. "Scout," he whispered. "Good boy." The golden retriever, Scout, approached eagerly and nuzzled against Michael's outstretched hand. Stephen immediately set to work examining Michael while Emma provided water and radioed in more detailed information about his condition. "Compound fracture of the right tibia, possible concussion, dehydration," Stephen reported, "but stable." "Michael, can you tell us what happened?" Michael took a shaky breath. "I was training Scout. He's part of my search and rescue program, finishing up his wilderness certification." He paused, wincing in pain. "We were doing well until yesterday evening. There was a sudden storm. Lightning struck a tree nearby. Scout ran for cover, which is natural, but the same lightning weakened this tree." He gestured weakly to his trapped leg. "I was following him when it fell. Couldn't reach my emergency beacon, so I attached my location marker to Scout's collar and commanded him to find help." Emma and Stephen exchanged astonished looks. "You trained a dog to find help on the highway?" Emma asked. Michael managed a small laugh that turned into a grimace. That's what search and rescue dogs do. Scout is specially trained to find the nearest populated area when given the command. On a wilderness trail like this, the highway is the closest place he'd find people. His voice filled with pride. I wasn't sure if he'd remember his training in this situation, but I hoped he'd go to the road and someone would notice his tag. Scout had settled next to Michael, his golden body pressed against his owner's side, watching the newcomers with alert eyes. "That's amazing," Stephen said, applying a splint to Michael's leg. "Your training program really worked." "I had faith in him," Michael said simply. The next hour passed in a blur of activity. The search and rescue team arrived with proper medical equipment and a stretcher designed for ravine rescues. As they worked to free Michael's leg from under the tree, Scout remained nearby, watchful but not interfering. Emma found herself fascinated by the bond between man and animal. It showed just how remarkable a well-trained service dog could be. As the rescue team prepared to transport Michael, he called out weakly, "Scout, please. Someone needs to look after him. I don't want him to get lost out here." Stephen stepped forward. "I'll take personal responsibility for him until you're back on your feet, Michael. You have my word." Relief washed over Michael's face as he was lifted onto the stretcher. "Thank you," he whispered. "His gear and supplies are at my campsite, Fortress Ridge, Site 7734. "We'll find it," Stephen assured him. As Michael was being carried up the ravine, Scout tried to follow, making small distress whines. Emma, acting on instinct, knelt down to the golden retriever's level. "It's okay, boy. He's going to be all right. And you did good, real good." Sorry for the interruption. Before we continue with the story, I kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to this channel. It is very important for us. Thank you very much. Scout looked at her with smart eyes that seemed to understand more than any regular dog should. The story of Michael Cooper and Scout the Golden Retriever appeared in local news the next day. Man's life saved by loyal service dog. Interest grew quickly, with national news stations sharing the heartwarming story of a search and rescue dog trainer saved by the very animal he was training to help others. 3 weeks later, Emma found herself driving to the Austin Search and Rescue Training Center where Michael worked. She couldn't get the story out of her mind, and when her sergeant suggested she do a follow-up as part of their community outreach program, she eagerly volunteered. The center was located on 20 acres of land outside Austin, a series of modern buildings surrounded by large training fields and obstacle courses. Emma was greeted by a young volunteer who led her to a sunny room where Michael Cooper sat in a wheelchair, his casted leg propped up on a stool. "Officer Carter," he smiled, extending his hand. "It's good to finally meet you properly. Last time, I was a bit out of commission." Emma laughed, shaking his hand. "Call me Emma, please. And you were handling a broken bone better than most people handle a paper cut." "Adrenaline is a wonderful thing," Michael chuckled. "And knowing Scout succeeded, that was better than any painkiller." "How is he?" Emma asked. Michael's face brightened. "Why don't you see for yourself? We're about to do his afternoon training session." He wheeled himself out to a large training field where Dr. Morrison was already waiting. Emma was surprised to see him there. "Stephen's been coming down twice a week to help with Scout," Michael explained, noticing her expression. "Says he's never seen a dog with such amazing abilities and wants to document his training process for a research paper." Stephen greeted them warmly. "Emma, good to see you again. You're just in time for the demonstration." On the training field, Scout was navigating an obstacle course, his movements confident and precise. He'd filled out even more in the weeks since Emma had last seen him, his puppy body developing into the strong build of a working retriever. "He's looking good," Emma observed. "They grow quickly at this stage," Michael said proudly, "and he's thriving. The experience hasn't seemed to hurt his training. If anything, it's given us new insights into his thinking abilities." Stephen opened a gate, and they entered a protected viewing area at the edge of the training field. Scout immediately noticed them and approached, focusing particularly on Emma. "He remembers you," Michael said with surprise. "Is that unusual?" Emma asked. "Not for dogs in general, but for a working dog in training to break protocol and show such specific recognition, that's unexpected. Scout seems to have formed a special connection with you." Emma felt a strange sense of kinship as the golden retriever watched her with those intense amber eyes. "What happens to him now?" she asked. Michael exchanged a glance with Stephen. "That's actually become an interesting question. Scout's case has challenged some of our beliefs about search and rescue dogs. His initiative and problem-solving abilities are extraordinary. The traditional approach would be to complete his training and assign him to a search and rescue team," Stephen added. "But given his demonstrated capabilities, several researchers, including myself, have proposed a more specialized role." Michael wheeled himself closer to the training field fence. "We're developing a new program, Canine Ambassadors, dogs that can not only perform search and rescue, but also serve as educational ambassadors. They can teach the public about the capabilities of working dogs while helping with safety education." "And Scout would be your first ambassador?" Emma guessed. "He's a perfect candidate," Michael confirmed. "He has extraordinary training ability but has also formed meaningful human connections. And after his role in the rescue, the public is already invested in his story." They watched as Scout completed a series of complex commands, demonstrating problem-solving skills that impressed even Emma's untrained eye. "The rescue wasn't just a lucky coincidence, was it?" Emma asked. "Your training methods really made a difference." Michael nodded. "Training a search and rescue dog is all about building on their natural instincts. With Scout, we created clear connections. Roads mean humans. The command to find help means seeking populated areas. My scent on the tracking device means me." He smiled sadly. "I honestly didn't know if he'd perform in a real emergency. It was a desperate attempt." "Well, it saved your life," Emma said. "And changed his future," Michael added softly. "The publicity from the rescue has brought in enough funding to support our ambassador program for the next 3 years. We're building a special facility where visitors can learn about search and rescue techniques through dogs like Scout." "Speaking of publicity," Stephen cut in, "the governor's office called this morning. They want to present both of you with a special award at the State Safety Awareness Gala next month." Michael looked embarrassed. "I told them Scout deserves the award, not me." "I believe their exact response was that they don't have a system for giving state honors to dogs," Stephen laughed. "But they are featuring Scout's image on a new search and rescue awareness campaign, so there's that." Emma smiled, remembering the determined golden retriever that had blocked traffic on Highway 32 just a few weeks ago. Who could have imagined that such a creature would save a life and potentially change how people viewed the relationship between service animals and their handlers? As if sensing her thoughts, a Scout approached the fence where Emma stood, making a soft whine that seemed almost like a greeting. "Would you like to give him a treat?" Michael asked, offering Emma a small bag of training rewards. Emma hesitated, then accepted the treats. Under Michael's guidance, she held out her open palm. Scout took the treat gently without any grabbing, then sat attentively while watching Emma with those intelligent eyes. "I never thought I'd see such discipline in a young dog," Emma admitted. "He's teaching us that working dogs have abilities far beyond what we typically expect," Michael said. "There's a range of intelligence and adaptability. Scout is helping us understand that the potential of these animals is greater than we imagined. 6 months later, Emma stood in the crowd at the grand opening of the Texas Canine Search and Rescue Training Center. Her department had assigned her as their official representative, but she would have attended anyway. She needed to see how Scout's story had evolved. The center was impressive, with various training environments designed to challenge the dogs while still allowing visitors to observe their work. Educational displays explained the unique circumstances that had brought each dog to the ambassador program. Specialized skills, extraordinary problem-solving abilities, or, in Scout's case, exceptional initiative that created a unique bridge between animal instinct and human rescue needs. Scout's training area was the centerpiece of the facility, a complex course with various terrains and scenarios designed to showcase search and rescue techniques while allowing him to interact with researchers and participate in educational programs. Michael, now fully recovered, led the ribbon-cutting ceremony, sharing Scout's story with the gathered crowd and media. When he mentioned Emma's role in the rescue, he insisted she join him at the podium. Officer Carter represented the best of human compassion that day, he told the crowd. She didn't dismiss a distressed animal as unimportant. She recognized intelligence and intent, even when it came in an unexpected form. Afterward, as the crowd dispersed to tour the facility, Michael took Emma to a special demonstration area where they could see Scout in action. "He's become quite the celebrity," Emma observed as the golden retriever performed a complicated rescue scenario, seemingly unbothered by the admiring visitors. "Yes, but more importantly, he's becoming an ambassador for working dogs everywhere. People who see him, who hear his story, they're donating to search and rescue programs, supporting handler training initiatives." Michael's voice filled with quiet pride. "One golden retriever has done more for search and rescue awareness in 6 months than a decade of traditional campaigns." Emma watched as Scout completed his demonstration and trotted over to them, those intelligent eyes meeting hers before settling briefly on Emma with what was unmistakably recognition. "Do you ever wonder what he's thinking?" Emma asked. Michael smiled. "Every day, but I've learned to respect the partnership. Scout reminds us that working dogs aren't just tools we use. They're partners with their own intelligence and decision-making abilities." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the center, Emma found herself thinking about how a routine call about a dog disrupting traffic had grown into something that changed so many lives. Michael's, Scout's, her own, and now potentially thousands of visitors who would come to learn about the remarkable capabilities of search and rescue dogs. "You know," she said finally, "in 11 years of police work, I've never had a case quite like this one." Michael laughed. "I should hope not. Once in a lifetime is enough for me." They watched in comfortable silence as Scout, the golden retriever who had once desperately tried to get human attention on a busy highway, now commanded it effortlessly, his very presence a testament to the unexpected ways that humans and animals could work together to save lives. In the fading light, as visitors reluctantly began to leave, Scout came over and sat beside Emma, leaning gently against her leg. For a moment, those amber eyes met hers, and Emma felt again that unexplainable connection, a bridge between two worlds, animal and human, each with lessons to teach the other. It was, Emma thought, a fitting end to an extraordinary story, and perhaps the beginning of many more. Did you enjoy this story? Have you ever seen an animal do something so smart it left you speechless? Tell us your story in the comments. Let us know in the comments below. If you liked the story, subscribe to this channel and leave a like. Sometimes the smallest voice, like a puppy's whine, can lead to the biggest miracles. Trust, loyalty, and courage can build bridges between worlds and even save lives. Thanks so much for listening. See you in the next video. Have a great day.